Okay, welcome to our CrafterNoon adventures.
Good CrafterNoon, everyone, and welcome to another sewing adventure. Today's projects are, once again, super simple so that you can learn how to use your new machine. Today we're going to be making a rice hand warmer and a tooth fairy pouch. Both useful. The hand warmer you can warm up in the microwave to get your fingers nice and warm. You can also toss it in the freezer if you get a little boo-boo on your hand. So let's start with the rice hand warmer. For this project, you're going to need 2 pieces of fabric measuring 5 by 5 inches. And if you want to make it bigger or smaller or a rectangle, you can do that as well. So to make this project, we're going to put right sides of the fabric together. The right side obviously is the pretty side of the fabric. Lay them on top of each other, and we're going to pin around the edges. For this project, we do need to leave an opening so that we can turn it inside out. The best way to mark that, so you don't forget, it's all the way around, is to put 2 pins where you want your opening to be. And your opening should be about 2 inches is usually pretty good. So there's our 2 pins that mark our opening, and then pin around the edges on the other 3 sides. If you're a confident sewer, pinning is optional, but if you're just learning, it's really best to pin. That way your fabric doesn't slip, and you don't have to. You remember our friend Mr. Seam Ripper? Yeah, nobody likes to get out the seam ripper. Okay, now that we're pinned all the way around, it's time to sew. We are going to start at one of the sides that has the double pins. That is where our opening is. Always put the presser foot down and hold your thread off to the side. If you don't do that, 9 times out of 10, your needle will come unthreaded, and then you have to thread the needle again, and nobody likes to do that. So we're going to go a couple stitches forward and a couple stitches backward. This sort of ties the knot and keeps the fabric from fraying open. Go to the corner. Make sure your needle is down when you pivot your fabric. You don't want your fabric to shift. And continue on. We're using the edge of our presser foot as our guide so we can sew straight as possible. Come to the next corner, put your needle down, raise the presser foot, and turn your fabric. Stitches here, and we'll be done step 2 or 3. And this is our final edge. Remember, it has the 2 pins, so we know we need to leave that open. You can sew over your needles, go forward, backwards, and forwards again. Okay. And trim your thread. Take our pins out. And we will trim the edges so that we can get a nice point in the corner. And turn it inside out, like so. We're going to use the crochet hook to push out the corners. Like so. Okay, and here's our opening. Now we need to fill it with rice. It's a good idea to use a funnel, otherwise you will have rice everywhere. And you'll have to get the vacuum cleaner out, and that's just fun. And you can really fill this as full as you want or as not full as you want. Okay, tap it down so we have all the rice on the inside. Our final step is to sew across this opening. So we're going to put some pins in to keep it in place. So, and we will just sew across the top. Make sure that your rice is all the way down in the bottom of the bag. Don't want to run it over. Okay, so now we will forward, backward, stitch right across that opening, forward and back, and everything went all right. You've got all the ends. Remember to trim off excess thread. And we got everything across the top, and there is your simple rice hand warmer. These are another good project to use up all your scraps with. Our next project is great for young and old alike. If you have a younger child who would like to learn to sew, this is a perfect first project. The Simple Tooth Fairy pillow. So what we're going to need for this project, once again, is 2 pieces of fabric, approximately 5 inches by 5 inches, and a piece of felt for the tooth, and a tooth pattern. I just found this little fella on the internet, printed it out. So what we're going to do now is you can trace around it with a pencil, or you can just, if you're feeling wild and crazy, just freehand it. Just cut around the tooth like so. You could also pin this to the felt so that it doesn't move around, but it's just a pretend tooth. So next, we will take our tooth and position it about in the middle of our fabric, and we're going to pin it down. This is where you'll put the tooth, and the tooth fairy will leave you some money inside of there. And there we go. So for this sewing, we're going to sew just around the outside of the tooth, not across the top. We want to have an open pocket so that we can put our tooth in and money. So if you want to use matching thread, that's fine. I'm going to use some dark thread so that you can see how this is actually sewn. And it doesn't have to be right on the edge. It can be in a little bit. Remember to have your thread down into the back and hold on to it so that your needle does not come unthreaded. And we'll just sew a couple stitches forward, a couple stitches back, and follow around the tooth. Turning corners can be a little tricky, so I'm just going to put my needle down, do a couple stitches here, and pivot again. This doesn't have to be perfect either. It's kind of cute when it's not. And turn a little bit, put our needle down and pivot it and go up the last side of the tooth. Remember to stitch forward and backward. Trim our thread at the beginning and at the end here. And take our needles out. or pins out. Those are pins. And if you want to trim this on the back so we don't have that extra thread flying around. Okay, now to complete our pillow, we're going to put the the wrong sides of the fabric together. That is the ugly side of the fabric. And we need to leave an opening to put our stuffing in. So as we did with the rice hand warmer, we're going to mark our opening with 2 pins. This. And then pin the other sides together. Okay, got that done. Now it's time to sew it up. We are going to start right by the double pins. Line our fabric up at the edge of the presser foot and start sewing. Forward and back with the corner, needle down to turn the fabric. Okay, the last edge here, remember this is our opening. Back up, go forward, and trim our thread. That's the wrong scissors. Like so. Okay, got it all sewed all the way around. Take the pins out, voila. Now we need to get our stuffing. This is just regular polyfill. And put it right in there to your opening. Like so, and then stuff it as full as you want it. I could have made this opening a little bigger, but doesn't really matter. Okay. And then kind of move your fiber fill around. You can move it with a crochet hook to get it evenly distributed. And then the last step here is to sew across our opening. And we'll pin that so it stays together for us. So, and then we're going to sew our opening. Okay, let's trim up our threads. That. Got a lot of threads here. All right, since we didn't turn this one inside out, we've got some edges here. You can either leave it like this, or you can take a pinking shears. Pinking shears has these little jagged teeth, and what it does is it stops the fabric from fraying. So you can trim around the edges like so, and that keeps the fabric from fraying. I don't know why they're called pinking shears. I guess I could look that up. Maybe if anybody knows, you could leave note in the comment section below. Inking shears can be kind of hard to cut with. These probably aren't the sharpest tool in the shed here, but it's getting the job done. And one more side to finish off the edges. And I am not doing a great job. If you want to, you can add a little face on your little tooth. I'm just going to use a marker and draw a little smiley face. And there you have it. A great little project for your adults or your younger child that wants to learn how to sew. Got some cute tooth fairy pouches, some rice hand warmers to get you on your sewing career. Thanks for joining us, everyone. Have a great day.
We hope you enjoyed today's craft. Most projects we demonstrate can be made in under an hour and require a few basic tools or supplies.
Have questions or suggestions for future videos? Use the comment section below and we'll add it to our list. Thanks for watching, and remember the Makerspace mantra.
The only limit is your imagination.